Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My continuation of my book reading of Stephen King's The Body. Chapter 2. Here we go. Chapter 2. The Treehouse Gang. We had a treehouse in a big tree, which hung over some empty ground in Castle Rock. It was a kind of club, although it had no name. There were 5 or 6 regulars and some other pussies who came and went. We let them come up when we were playing cards for money, and we needed some fresh blood. The sides of the treehouse were made out of wood, and the roof was metal we had taken from the dump, looking over our shoulders all the time because the manager of the dump had a dog, which ate children for breakfast. Or so people said. We found a screen door out there on the same day. It stopped the flies getting in. But it was really rusty. It didn't matter what time or day you looked out through that screen door. It always looked like sunset. Besides playing cards, the club was a good place to go and smoke cigarettes and look at girly books. We built a secret space under the floor to hide magazines and cigarette packets. When somebody's father decided to do the "me and my son are best friends" routine and visit us. The summer had been the driest and hottest since 1907. The newspaper said, and that Friday in September, a few days before school started again, the grass was dry and brown. Teddy and Chris and I were up in the club in the morning, complaining about school being so near and playing cards and telling the same jokes we told each other 100 times before. Teddy was laughing with peculiar laugh at the jokes, like her fingernail scratching on the board. He was strange, we all knew it. Close to being 13 like the rest of us. The thick glasses and his deafness made him seem like an old man sometimes. In spite of the glasses, Teddy couldn't see very well, and he often misunderstood the things people said to him. His eyesight was just natural bad. But there was nothing natural about what had happened to his ears. Back in the days when there was the fashion to get your hair cut really short, Teddy had Castle Rock's first Beatle haircut, 4 years before anyone in America had ever heard of the Beatles. He kept his ears covered because they looked like 2 lumps of warm wax. One day when Teddy was 8, his father had gotten angry with him for breaking a plate. His mother was out at work, and Teddy's dad took him over to the big oven in the back of the kitchen and pushed the side of Teddy's head down against one of the burner plates. He held it down for about 10 seconds, then he pulled Teddy up by the hair and did the other side. Then he called the hospital and told them to come and fetch his boy. Then he sat down in front of the TV with his gun across his knees. When Mrs. Bird from next door came to ask if Teddy was okay, she had heard the screaming. Teddy's dad pointed the gun at her. Mrs. Bird left the Duchamp house at roughly the speed of light and called the police. When the ambulance came for Teddy, his dad explained to the ambulanceman that although the captain said the area was clear, he knew there were still German soldiers around. Before long, Teddy's dad was in Togus, which was a special hospital where they sent soldiers who were mad from the war. He had been on the beaches of Normandy and had just got worse and worse ever since. In spite of what his dad has done to him, Teddy was proud of him and visited him in Togus every week. Teddy was the stupidest boy in our gang. I suppose And he was crazy. He used to take the craziest chances, like running out in front of the lorries on the road and jumping out of the way at the very last moment. This made him laugh, but it frightened us because his eyesight was so bad. You had to be careful what you dared him, because he liked to do anything for a dare. In the middle of the game of cards, we heard someone coming fast up the ladder, which was fixed to the side of the tree. It was Vern Tessio, one of the other regulars. He was sweating very hard. "Wait till you hear this, guys," he said. "Hear what?" I asked. "I've got to catch my breath. I ran all this way from my house." "All the way?" Chris asked unbelievably. "Man, you're crazy." Vern's house was 2 miles away. "It's too hot for that." "This is worth it," Vern said. "You won't believe this." "What?" "Can you all camp up tonight?" Vern was looking at us in excitement. His eyes were dark and hard in his sweaty face. "I mean, if I tell you families, we're going to camp in my backyard, in my back field." "Yeah, I think so," Chris said, picking up his cards and looking at them. "But my dad's in an awful mood. Drinking, you know." "You got to, man," Vern said. "Sincerely, you won't believe this. Can you, Gordy?" "Probably. At least you could do things like that. In fact, I had hardly been at home all summer. In April, my oldest brother Dennis had died in a Jeep accident. He had just started training in the army. An army lorry hit the Jeep he was in and he died immediately. He was a few days short of being 20. My parents..." "So what's this all about, Vern?" Teddy asked. He and Chris were still playing cards. I was reaching for a detective magazine. Vern Tessio said, "You guys want to go and see a dead body?" Everybody stopped. And that was the end of chapter 2. The Treehouse Gang. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.